This is actually something that you cannot avoid. It is something that is inevitable. That from time to time in your life, in my life as well, of course, we will experience people bad-mouthing us. People talk negative about us, whether it's behind our back or even in front of us directly. It is something that we cannot avoid. Now, so the question is, how can we overcome this kind of situations when people are bad-mouthing us? Before we go there, actually, I would like to give you an analogy. Imagine a building, a construction that was not built in a proper way. So it is rather weak, it's not strong enough. And then there's a storm that comes. If the structure is not strong enough, it doesn't even take a strong storm to actually make this building, the structure, to collapse. Or if not collapse, it will have a lot of part that is broken, and it will take a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort to rebuild the structure. And if it's a big storm, it might even collapse. But if we build this construction properly, a solid construction, yes, when the storm comes, maybe, or most likely actually, it will still have some parts that is, kind of broken a bit here, a bit there, but not too much, because it was built properly. So yes, it might still take some renovation, but it will not take as much time or energy or even materials to actually rebuild it. Does it make sense? Now, the thing is, in our life, these storms, the small ones and the big ones, they will come whether you like it or not, whether you're ready or not. One of them is those people who are bad-mouthing about us. And actually, these negative talks, they don't come only from other people, but sometimes even from our own head as well. So here's the thing now. So how do we overcome that? Most of the times, the questions that I got is, when that situation happened, how do I overcome it? What do I need to do when people are bad-mouthing me? Or when I'm even bad-mouthing myself? What do I need to do? That is the same like asking a question, like when I'm in the middle of a chemistry test in school, and then I'm facing questions that I don't know how to answer, what do I need to do? Well, if you're asking what to do when you're in the test, of course it will be more difficult. The key is not what to do when you're in the test, during the test, but what you do to prepare when the test actually comes. So, if you're not preparing yourself for the test, when the test comes, of course you will be facing difficulties. Of course it will take more effort. And I'm not saying when you're facing the test of negative talks, I'm not saying you to deny it as if, I'm fine, everything's okay. We are a human being. It's normal to feel sad, to feel disappointed, to feel angry. But what we want is, of course, we don't want to dwell in those negative emotions. Even further, we don't want to express it in a negative way that it might even hurt somebody else or even hurt ourselves. So what I'm trying to say here is, a lot of people forgot to ask an even more important questions before the question of, what do I need to do when that happened? Some people they probably not even forgot. They don't even know that it's important to ask this question that I'm about to tell you. Before asking what to do when the test happens, when those negative thoughts comes to us, ask this question: who do I need to become in order for me to be able to overcome those situations, in order for me to be able to apply the techniques, the methods that would help me to overcome those situations? Because if you only ask for what to do, what techniques, what methods to do when those negative thoughts come to us, it won't work in the long term. I'll give you an example. Let's say public speaking. You can learn the methods, the techniques of a good public speaking, of a good way to do public speaking. You can learn about, how to maintain, to control your intonation when you're speaking, or when you speak, and then the pace, and then your body language. However, if you as a person still don't believe in your own ability, you still maintain a low self-esteem, those techniques, those methods that you learn, it won't come out when you're actually practicing, when you're actually doing that public speaking. So this is what I'm trying to say. People always forgot about this. It's not just the techniques, but it's who do you need to become. So to go back to the situation of when people are bad-mouthing us, where there's negative stigma around us as well. What kind of person that would be able to overcome those situations in a good way? Someone who know themselves, who knows their own potential, and not just know their own potential, but also actualize their potential. Someone who doesn't need other people's validation, because again, they know who they are, they know their potential, they know their capabilities. Not just knowing, but also again, actualize them. So, so I need to become that kind of person. If you gradually take yourself towards that path, in that path to becoming that kind of person, then when you learn the techniques, it will work magically. Compared to if you're learning the techniques, but you're applying it as someone who still have a low self-esteem, who still don't believe in your ability, who still don't even know what your abilities or what your potentials are. So don't skip this question. Don't jump right away on the techniques. Yeah, in the short term, maybe, but if you want to be able to overcome the situations, and like I said, this test, these storms, they will come again and again and again, because that's life, that's growing. Actually, they need to come in order for us to grow. If you don't want them to come at all in your life, you need to check on your own belief. Why? Don't you want to grow? If you're trying as hard as you can to avoid negative talks about you, you need to check your belief, because you're actually holding yourself back from growing as a person. I'm not saying we need to enjoy it, of course, but I'm saying is to be okay when that happens. To know that it will happen from time to time, and to be okay when that happens. Because deep down you know that it will take you to a higher place. It is the path of growth. And again, to have a negative emotion as an initial reaction, that's normal, that's human, that's part of what makes us human. Yes, we will feel sad, we will feel disappointed or even angry, as long as it doesn't turn into vengeance, and then you don't actualize it by taking revenge on someone else or doing something negative towards yourself as well. But when you grow, these negative emotions, they don't need to stay too long. Because emotion is energy in motion. Emotion is energy in motion. And the law of energy is that you cannot create and you cannot destroy energy. It can only transform into a different form. One of them is from positive to negative and from negative to positive. So a sign that you're actually growing, it doesn't mean that you will never ever experience negative emotion again when people are bad mouthing you. Again, we're human, we will feel that emotions. However, if back then it took you months or weeks or days dwelling in those emotions, and sometimes you even lash it out on someone else or even yourself, but because you're growing, it doesn't take you that long now. Maybe a day, maybe a few hours, maybe a few minutes, maybe less than a minute, because you're growing. That's one of the signs that you're growing. So it doesn't mean that you will never experience a negative emotion. And to be okay with it. To be okay and to know that these negative thoughts will come. So many people, maybe some of you who are watching this video, maybe have some negative thoughts about me based on whatever reason that you might have, and that's okay. And I'm also okay with it because I know myself. I know I have things that I need to improve for sure. And by sharing this with you, I'm also learning so much as well. I hope you learn from what I'm sharing, but I'm also learning as well. So I cannot control what people will say. A friend of mine told me that we only have 2 hands. So we cannot put our hands on everyone's mouth to close their mouth so they won't talk. So he told me that because I cannot do that, I cannot put my hands on everybody's mouth, so let me just put it here. They can say whatever they want. I don't need to hear it. It doesn't mean that you invalidate people's opinions. That's not what it means. It's just that you can respect their opinion. You might even look at their negative thoughts from a different perspective, from a perspective of curiosity. Why is he or why is she keep talking about me like that? I wonder what happened to him, what happened to her. Is it just towards me, towards somebody else? What happened? But from a perspective of curiosity. And it can even lead you towards feeling compassion towards the person. Again, of course, there's like a higher level, yes, but again, we all have the potentials. So again, it's about growing. So the focus is on who do you become? Who are the persons who are very good in facing negative stigmas, negative talks about us, people bad-mouthing about us, or even negative talks, negative self-talk? Who are the people who are good in facing those situations? Then look for them. Do you know anyone around you? Or you can learn from books, you can learn from articles, you can learn from videos, from podcasts. In today's age, there's no excuse to not be able to find these people, because it's so easy. You can just click here, search there, and then listen. Make the time to listen. Make the time to read. And then gradually, be patient, of course. Gradually, then you start to grow. That's the preparation for the test. If you're preparing during the test, it'll be chaotic. But again, in this process, I want to tell you as well, again, like I said, be patient and be compassionate. Don't judge yourself too much as well. When you're learning, and then when, again, this negative talks, comes at you, and then you still get angry, you still get really sad or get really disappointed, and your response is not as you want, still not as good as you want, don't judge yourself as well, because you're learning, and that's the whole part of learning. Part of learning is failing and then evaluating and trying again. Even I myself, even until today, I still face, the more people that we interact, the bigger the probabilities, the possibilities that people are going to badmouth about us. So that's the risk that we need to take, or I wouldn't say need, but decide to take, I guess. But actually, even when you're not, talking to so many people, that possibility is still there, and it will still happen from time to time in our life. Because we are a social being, we will interact with people. There's a lot of people or few people still. So because it is not something that we can avoid, like it or not, ready or not, so might as well prepare. Learn to know yourself better. Make the time to do it. Because you are way more than you think you are. And I'm not saying this just as a, it's like a nice motivational line. No, I'm saying this out of my own experience. I used to think of myself someone who doesn't, I can't even, just seeing where I am right now, I know I still have so much to improve. However, I also know that I'm pretty much a totally different person in terms of my ability, of my courage, of my belief in myself. Not in terms of better than others. Thinking that you're better than others, that's arrogant. This has nothing to do with other people. This is like me knowing who I am and continuously knowing who I am, because I'm also evolving as well. I prioritize to make the time to reflect, to contemplate from the things that happen in my life, whether it's through my routine meditation or my journaling. I take the time, and it really helped. It really helped me to know myself better, to integrate the learnings that I got from those negative events in my life. Because again, I'm not denying that, though I'm saying they don't feel good when it happened. They didn't feel good. But I also acknowledge there's something good that come out from those negative events, including when people are bad-mouthing us. So like I said, yeah, even today, still so many people, talk about my public speaking and everything, and that's okay. I'll take that as a feedback. But I know what I'm capable of, and I know my own potential. And I truly believe that so should you. I hope this is useful. And if you have any other questions, just write down. I hope this is useful, and thank you for learning together with me. Ciao. Very quickly, there's a research that reveals a universal pattern of phases that people go through in their journey of discovering and living their life purpose. And you can learn and find out in which phase am I in right now, and what's the next phase, and most importantly, how do I get there? Find your answers in Uncover Your Unique Purpose, a comprehensive and practical guide to discovering your life purpose. It's a research-based book, and as well covered with all the exercise you will need to discover your unique purpose. Get this book now and take a real step to your most unique self-discovery journey. This book is available on Amazon worldwide.